I'm here to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. I'll make that clear, like, I'm here to help you maximize the value of the property, but I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. This is a marathon, not a sprint. If you want to be successful in 6 months, if you want to be successful only for a short period of time, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
But if you want to build a sustainable, successful, great business that people respect you as an agent, as a professional, then do it with integrity. Have a long-term mindset. Be a good, decent human being.
Welcome back, Nathan.
It's nice to be back, Bowie.
That's good.
Good to be back.
So in previous podcasts, we've discussed mindset. We've discussed prospecting, how to get leads in your pipeline. Today, we're going to discuss how to get that lead to list their home with you as an agent. So you say 40% of the work is done prior to the listing presentation. Talk me through how you structure your listing presentations, how you prepare for them.
So the 40% prior to a listing presentation is when you get somebody to pick up the phone and give you a call. It's ideal, an incoming call. People call you, say, hey, can you do an appraisal on my house? So 40% prior to that is like you've built rapport with them. You've been in touch with them for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. If you're a brand new agent, you would be in touch with them for like, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months, whatever it may be, right? And then they've picked up the phone and given you a call. So what do you do prior to you sit down with them and present?
Yeah.
If you say you get a listing, when you get a listing, it's 100% of the thing, right? 40% done prior to you sitting down with them.
Okay.
And whatever that may be, it may be like, you've contacted them. Let's say they come and they give you a call and say, hey, I want an appraisal on my house, or you do knock on their property and they say, I want to think about selling my house. Okay. Now the prior 40% starts now.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do, and I've done for years, is the 60-6-60, which is in 60 seconds, they get a text. In 6 minutes, they get an email about me and my services, how I sell, what's the advantage of going with me or with us as an organization. And then in 60 minutes, they get a beautiful, hard kit delivered to them about information about what we do here, my team here at Najib, and what Najib we do here.
Do you find that 6660 helps with the conversion rate from, a prospect to a client?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It becomes like, because we're in competition, like there's no second prize. There's no second prize for in a listing competition, if you would, right? Because usually people would invite 2, 3, 4 people, right? Agents to sit down with them and say, okay, now we're going to choose who we're going to go with, right? And so what the goal is, that small inches, the 1%ers, which is the 6660, what is one of them. So the 40% beforehand is that 6660. That phone call that they get from my office, from him confirming my appointment, the text that goes when half an hour before I go and see them.
Yeah.
So that's prior to sitting down with him and presenting.
Okay.
So it's all about impressing the client that, this guy or this girl is on the ball.
Yeah.
And if the 6660, all it is like, if you're getting into the business, all it is like, write a text that goes automatically every time. Write up an email. Initially it takes a little bit of time. If you're working for an organization that doesn't already have this stuff, and just keep on working, try it.
Yeah.
See how it goes next time, rather than just turning up. And most agents, most people, most agencies, they just fluke it. They just turn up and hoping to get the listing, right?
Yeah. So you're already one step ahead by doing this 6660 before that agent, the other agent, even sits down with them. You've already, 30% ahead of them because you've built that initial relationship. And how hard's a text and an email to send? The package may take a bit more time, but that's an excuse to give it to them.
I didn't have the system when I was when I
Yeah.
was in a solo agent. I was just selling on my own. I didn't have all these systems,
Mm-hmm.
but I put it in place, and I would just do that. I used to have in an email, maybe like in a format in my computer saved. So I would just go and open the computer and send the text, because it's all about impressing people. Because as I said, there's no second prize. So you just got to impress the clients from the get go. Ideally, what I call a listing presentation starts well before they invite you to their house, because they've known you for 5 or 10 years. The ideal listing presentation is when you've been in touch with them, because okay, they might invite 3 other agents, but they probably choosing you beforehand, because they're like, okay, with the agent, this guy Bowie has been in touch with me this whole time. I'm just going to get a couple of more opinions, but I've made my decision. I'm going to go with this guy. Usually, that's the ideal, because you've already started working on these clients. 5 years ago.
Yeah. And when you go to meet with them, so the next step is, you say 40% of the work is how great you are at the listing presentation.
Absolutely.
So you've already got this rapport with them.
Yeah.
But how do you, let's say you've just spoken on the phone with them. How do you actually establish that rapport quickly in the listing presentation?
So prior to, if you haven't met these people, obviously this is just a brand new, like, you've got, they're like, okay, I've seen you in an open home. I want you to come. You've never been in touch with these guys. Or I saw you walking down, but I want you to do an appraisal for us. So maybe you door knock somebody, and they're like, oh, I'm thinking about selling. To impress those people is obviously the 60 is going to play a big role in it. That prior to the meeting, a phone call to confirm your meeting. And if you haven't got a PA, tell your colleague to give him a call, because it's a lot. It makes you sound more professional when somebody else calls you.
Yeah.
Or maybe I tell my people, I can just ask our reception manager to give them a call, confirm your meeting, just from somebody else to confirm your meeting with them, and make you sound like an ultimate pro. And then send him a text half an hour before you go. I'm looking forward to catching up with you. And then when you're sitting down, the other 40% is how you present, how quickly you can build rapport with them. And I say, like, if the listing presentation, when you're actually presenting the listing, you should be listening 80%.
Okay.
And talking 20%. So more of a question-based listing presentation, rather than trying to just telling them how great.
So
great
what questions are you asking the clients?
Yeah, good point. Like, one of the questions that I will ask when I sit down with them. So when I start, just to go back, and I'll tell you what the question I would ask. That one of the questions that I always sit down and have asked them is, so when I go sit down with them, obviously I like to build rapport with them first of all. Obviously, it's just it's a sales thing. Obviously, like, want to make sure you're on the same page. I will not start a listing presentation. I never do until we're kind of on the same page. We kind of like have built a rapport. Like now they're like, okay, I'm ready to listen to you.
And what are you doing to build that rapport? Because you've got many different personalities, right? You got emotional Emma over here.
Sure.
And you got silent Sam.
Yeah.
So how does your personality and your approach remain the same, or are you changing your behavior to suit different clients?
Yeah. It's there's a book, a brilliant book that I read a long time ago called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in there it talks about, like, how you can build rapport with people, right? And there's another one, Persuasion. They did a beautiful book by Robert Cialdini. He talks about, like, how, like, you should. So one of the things is a mirroring, like building like genuine rapport, authentic, real rapport. You don't change, but you ask them good questions. You say hello. For example, if there's a gardener at the house, you greet the gardener. You say how much of a good job they've done, right? Just being a decent human being, I think, is the best way to build rapport.
Yeah. You use their name. That's one of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So you use their name, and then when you talk to them, you that's what you do. You use their name, perhaps, right? And then when you go through their homes, like, if you see a little kid there, don't ignore a little kid. Have a conversation with a little kid. Get on your knees and have a chat with a kid, because all those small little things, then they are like when they're kind of in sync with you, sitting on the table. Then you can start your presentation. What I say is, like, question-based presentation wins every single time. And then we're like, you know, when I'm sitting down with you, we said, what question do I ask?
Yeah.
One of the main questions I ask is like, when I sit down with presentation, okay, now it's time for us to, I've got a simple business plan here for us to go through. Now, how do you see if me and you are sitting down 4 weeks down the track, the sale has concluded, how do you see, how does the process look in your mind's eye?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll say, oh, well, I like to make sure our agent communicate with us all the time. I make sure. So I'm just taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll touch on those pain points as I go through my presentation. My presentation is very structured as well, Bobby.
Yeah.
Like I've got...
So take me through it, yeah.
Yeah. I've got a game plan that I talk about. And mainly what I talk about is like in these 4 or 5 things that I talk about, I say like in a few things I want to talk about, mainly when people who are thinking about selling now in the near future, they want to know 3, 4 or 5 things. First thing is like price, where this property logically sits in the marketplace, right? And I'll also talk about like, you know, today is not the day to finalize price. We have a discussion around the price, but today is not the day to finalize price. So I want to take that off the table, because if you give them a wrong number and in their mind they've got a different number than yours, then they're like, no, this you've already kind of like shot yourself in the foot kind of thing.
So what are you saying to the client if they keep pestering about price?
I'll definitely give them a range, because one of the things I talk about, which we have a conversation about all the time when I talk to the team about it, like, you know, working with integrity or selling with integrity. And that starts from the minute you do a presentation for somebody. Like, by integrity, what I mean is like, you know, tell people the truth. Always tell people the truth, because if you did give the client a wrong expectation or a wrong method of sale or a wrong price, that's a bad way to start a relationship.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
people can feel that too.
They can.
Yeah.
They can. And then what happens is like, okay, maybe even they list the property with you. For example, one of their clients, I was talking to that day, I was telling you, I was having a conversation to you about actually. David listed his property with somebody else, and the person said, we're going to give you $8,000 discount. He actually won the listing against me, and I've worked with David for two times. I sold a house for him. So he decided to go with this guy, but this guy here, it was a first home. I would have never auctioned the property. He went to auction. They put no price on the property. The price of the property was overpriced, and then they actually went to auction with no bidders there.
Yeah.
I'm like, why the hell would you do that? Number one, why would you go to auction a first home property? And number two, why would you even call the auction if you know there's nobody there? David is like, yes, I know. So he's like now disgruntled. Now he doesn't like any agents. So what the problem that we have with our industry is like, we just got this bad reputation. We'll make it worse and worse and worse. And unfortunately, that bad habits are still around. So first thing, as I was saying, is like, make sure you don't start with a lie. Do things with integrity.
Yeah.
Tell people the truth, right? And also, like, you know, take the price off the table and say, hey, what the thing today is, we'll have a conversation around the strategy and the process, how we're going to get you the best possible price, because mine and your goal as a team is to get you the best possible price. So today isn't the day to finalize price, but it's nice to have a discussion about it.
Yeah.
And then work out a strategy how we can maximize the value of your home. And most people are interested, like, you know, okay, tell me how you're going to maximize the value of the property. And then I'll talk about the method of sale, what method would best suit you and your property, and what my recommendations are. And I'll talk about the time frame, how long would it take us to get the property sold. I'll talk about the other thing I'll talk about is the professional fees and the marketing. And is this everything you want me to have a conversation about? And most people say, yeah, there's nothing else. And I said, if there's anything else you want to talk to me about, just write notes or talk to me as I go through the presentation. And then I just ask questions about, like, you know, how would you like to see like, you know, what was your experience like last time? So once I cover price, take the price off the table, saying, hey, today is not the day to finalize price, but I think it's comparing what else been sold in the area. It's probably worth between 1.245 to 1.395. How do you feel about that? Who would like to get 1.395 for it? I hear you, so do I would like to get you as much money as possible. But how we're going to go about this is it's about how we present your home, how we market your home, how we're going to work with your buyers, and I'll explain that in detail.
Yeah. Let's go into that, because that might be of interest to some agents, is how you tell your clients how you can get a premium price. That's what you say, right?
Yeah.
So let's go into some of the details there of the marketing, the photos, building emotion. I think that's a big one.
So once I cover the price for them and then I take that off the table or the seed, right? I said, we do two-stage of marketing. We do on-market and off-market. And off-market, how it works is like, we've sold houses in the area. I can bring some buyers through property before we actually go to the market. And one of the things that we do here at Najib is like we've got professional photographers that work in the office. Santi does absolutely amazing photos. So we get Santi to come and have a look at your house one day next week. What day would suit you best? So what you do is like you still have a conversation with them, also engaging them in the conversation and making these small closes. By that, what I mean is like, okay, well, are you ready for us to get a photographer through kind of thing?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, sure, Nathan. Like, well, Tuesday will suit me best. Great, I'll get Santi to get in touch with you. And Santi will be here for about 4 hours to make sure every photo is just absolutely spot on. And then we've covered the price now. And then what we'll do is, like, as I said, like we'll bring some people through a property. Once we get some feedback from the buyers, there's two things that come out of it. When we bring some people through your house, half a dozen, maybe a dozen people through your property before we actually go to the market.
Yeah.
So we don't want to just jump in the ocean with everything head first. What we want to do, we want to test the market a little bit.
Yeah.
And get some feedback from the horse's mouth. And then we can make an educated decision together like this.
Yeah.
Before we actually go to the market.
Okay. Yeah. So in the presentation, are you showing like the work you've done in the past? Like, these are the type of video packages we get. These are the videos we've produced. This is our branding. Are you showing that?
Yeah. So I've got examples of, like, how flyers will look when I come to the marketing, when I talk to the marketing.
Yeah.
So what we do is, like, our flyers, these A3 flyers, beautiful flyers. We've got a full plan at the back here, and your home's going to look exactly like this. How do you feel about this? Have you seen some of our properties being marketed? Yeah, your properties stand out. I know, and most people talk about this. They're like, your properties do stand out. You've got big, beautiful signs. Your photos are absolutely amazing. Your videos, your properties, you do video for every house, and you've got price guides on every homes that you market. And I'll talk about why we put price guides, and I'll talk about, like, method of sale, what would be the best method for you, and what my suggestion is. How do you feel about auction or deadline? Have you sold a house before? And what was your experience like? And then majority of the cases, when you ask them the question, they're like, and unfortunately, that's our industry. They're like, it wasn't a great experience. So I say, well, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
How did it go? So I'm just listening to the agent never communicated. The agent told me the price was this, and they ended up selling it for this amount.
Yeah.
Once they got the listing, they would, like, come back to me, it was worth less than what. It's exactly what I'm saying. So what we want to do, we don't want to make the same mistake. That would not happen here with us.
Yeah.
We want to have a conversation about your price now, and then work out a strategy how we're going to get you the best possible price.
Okay. Can you share an example of maybe it was early in your career, but a challenging person or couple that you had? They wanted to sell their home, and you're doing the listing presentation.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of a challenging negotiation in that listing? And it's not negotiation, I guess. It's building that rapport, but
yeah. I think every presentation's got its own challenges, Bowie, right? Even now, like, I still get challenges as people these a bunch of frequently asked questions, right? What do they ask? Okay, they ask, like, tell me what the house is worth. They're like, oh, you're probably worth between X amount and X amount. No. You are value. You tell me exactly what it's worth. Well, I can't tell you exactly what it's worth, but I can show you how we're going to maximize the value of your property.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're about. That's what we here to do for you. That's why you hire me. And then you would, if it was like, okay, what would be like, can you pay for the marketing, for example, right? Well, that's not what we do here at Najib. We don't want to get invested in new marketing, because if I'm invested in new marketing, it kind of puts you in a vulnerable situation, because now if an agent is paying for your marketing, the goal for the agent is getting a sale rather than getting the best possible price. So I wouldn't do that to you. And the next thing would be like, would you discount your commission? Like, the other agent was going to pay for the marketing and going to discount his commission. So there's a bunch of questions that you need to practice. I was talking to one of our guys here. Like, I was saying that you just record yourself. There's a bunch of questions that you have, and just record yourself answering those bunch of questions. Like, we just went through.
Yeah.
And I think
So it's sticking true to like your brand, like at the end of the day. And you've got many agents. So say if they come to my home and they want to list my house.
Yeah.
There's many agents that use the tactic of actually pricing my home above market value. They get me excited.
Yeah.
And then I bet many clients, because they're unaware, will actually list their property
Yeah.
with the agency.
Yeah, just like David.
Just like David. But you stick to your values.
Absolutely.
It must be difficult though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you must lose a few listings from that.
You do, and also like I told like, you know, it's like one of the things that we do for us is like important. Like I've done this. Thankfully, I've done this all my business life, all my life. There's like you tell the truth, even it's hard to say it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I say is like, you know, I'm here to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. I'll make that clear. Like, you know, I'm here to help you maximize the value of the property, but I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. So we work at a game plan, but we need to work as a team. So I'll make sure I establish that before I start conversation with him. And majority now, after 17 years being in the business, majority of people that I deal with, like they like, okay, I want to sell my house, and Nathan, how do you go about it? So it's not.
But what about those agents who are fairly new in the business and they're getting a few, I guess you could call them cold leads. Like you said, you need to follow up and prospect them before this listing.
Yeah.
But you still may not have that rapport that you've built up over the last 2 to 3, 5 years, whatever it is. So when those people are dealing with these relatively new leads in the listings, how did you like go about that?
Yeah.
Did you just follow the same approach, or?
Well, I mean, when you are new, you just want to get any listing you can get your hands on. It makes total sense, man. I've been there. One of the things I'm suggesting is too much of a big deal to lose. Like, if you're gonna lose a business, like I want to prepare for it. Like, it's like there was a boxing fight over the weekend. I'm a boxing fan, obviously. It was Haney versus Garcia, right? Imagine if one of those guys never trained and walked into the ring, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is like for our friends here, the real estate friends, like what I'm suggesting is practice well before you get into listing presentation. So what I'll be doing, I'll be watching to podcasts like this. There's some brilliant podcasts out there, like $1 Million Agent, John McGrath's podcast, Phil Harris does podcast. There's a bunch of great people doing amazing podcasts and YouTubes. I used to do this back, but I would, for me, it takes me a long time to learn something. So what I used to do is I'll listen, I'll write notes, and then I'll read those notes, and then I'll record myself, and then I'll listen to myself, and I'll critique myself.
Yeah.
It's taken me a long time to refine my listing presentation to what it is now. And I'm still working, I'm still listening to podcasts and refining it. So my suggestion would be is like before you start real estate, you get this listing presentation, learn from people, write notes, and make sure your listing presentation is pretty good. At least a structured listing presentation. Because I remember when I got into the business first, I would just rock up. There was nobody there to teach me how to do a presentation. Nobody that I used to work with in the office, they didn't have listing presentation like structured like how I have it now.
Yeah.
So get your toolkits. Like if you're going to a fight, like Ryan Garcia, you train for 12 weeks prior to going to a fight, right? Before you step your foot in the ring.
Yeah.
Same thing. Do the same thing.
As you said, 40% of the work is done prior to the listing presentation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's say, the last part, 20% of the work is if you don't list a property, what do you do post-presentation?
Yeah. So you might get, let's say you might get 4 out of 10. Let's say if you got like a 9 or 8 out of 10 listing presentation, right? Let's say you get 4 of them already made a decision before you walk into the room. Okay, I'm going to go with Nathan. The other 4 you convince you work with, you say, okay, now I was kind of convinced, or maybe I was looking at two other agents, but now after my presenting this, well, this person knows what he's talking about, and he sells most of the houses in the area, right? And the last one is, the last 20% is after you live there, like you might say, okay, I'm not ready to list yet. I haven't found a house, or maybe I've got a bunch of work to do. And then what is next? You leave a thank you card for them. In there. So for me, when I'm going to listing presentation, I'm assuming I've got the listing. But if I don't, there's a thank you card already written for me.
Yeah.
So M will do a thank you card already in the folder. If I don't get the property listed, if God forbid I don't get the property listed, I'll leave that in the letterbox.
Would you say that's like a common objection, or them just going around the point by saying, I'm not ready to list now?
Yeah.
Do you find they often go to another agency, or?
Yeah, perhaps when they make that decision, when they say like, I'm not ready to list yet, usually I'll ask them a couple of times, like, what is stopping you making a decision this evening?
Yeah.
Is there something we didn't cover? I feel like we can work together. Usually when I can't make a decision, there's something in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
What is in the back of your mind? What are you thinking? So I like to prod. I like to talk to them. Say why you can't make a decision this evening, of course, right? Because my job is to get the property listed, because I think I'm the best option. If they go with somebody else, God forbid, like David, he'd be kicking himself.
Yeah, let's talk about David for a second.
Yeah.
So he did 2 listings with you, right?
He sold two houses
with you.
Yeah.
Why did he go to another agency?
Yeah, that's a good good. That's what I told him. I said I told David today. Actually, I was having a chat with him today. I said people make mistakes and that's okay, right? So what happened was, I think he wanted to buy a house from this agent, and this agent did a deal for him, commission and paid for the marketing or whatever it was, and obviously it didn't work out. I won't name the agent this time around, but maybe next time around, if these agents don't improve, we have to name him, right?
Yeah.
So now he's come back to me. I think the agent actually got him an offer now, and he said, "What do you think, Nathan?" I think the offer that they got now is I think it's good. So I said, "I think you should take it."
Yeah.
I think you should take it. But he made a mistake, obviously, when with somebody else. So what I'm saying, the other 20% is, so I leave a thank you card that's already ready for me.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that in the letterbox. I'll send him a text, thank you for their time this afternoon or this evening. And then the next day, I'll usually have a proposal for them. We've got a beautiful hard copy proposal, or we send him a digital proposal of a summary of what we discussed.
Okay.
And then I give them a call, a follow-up call. And then what I have, they go into my sellers list, and there's something else we call, we talked about DNAs in the past.
Yeah.
I'll attach a DNA to them, meaning that I'm in touch with them for the next 90 days.
Yeah.
What I really like, my favorite ones are the ones that I'm not thinking about, the one that I've built rapport with for a long time, because I know they're going to go with me.
Yeah.
Because they know me, they've known me for a while, and they know what I'm like, and they appreciate how we do things. And then number 2, I like, even if it's a brand new, I'll door knock the property. Then they want an appraisal, but they're not ready to sell. Because in next 6, 12 months, 2 years, they're going to hear from me where the other agents drop.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, you would have heard from people, like, when people deal with us, like, you've been in touch with us for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Well, you had a guy come in a couple of weeks back, and I think you did business with him, or he met you at an open home. It was years and years ago. And then he ended up coming in the office and having a meeting with you. And yeah, it's about that long-term game, right?
We've been in touch, like, with people that I've been in touch with, like, from the first listing that I even meet them in, right? And then, like, imagine if you got, like, let's say 1,000 of those people, right? That they're not going to go nowhere else. And usually out of 1,000 people, like, about 10%, 8 to 10% would sell now. So 10% of 1,000 people, how many people is that? It's like it's 10% of 1,000 people is 100 people, right? So 100 people are doing something, either buying, selling, or they've got somebody that can refer to you, right? So I talk about, and Seth Godin talks about, John McGrath talks about creating raving fans.
Yeah.
And how do you do raving fans? How do you create raving fans? Just give authentic, real advice to every single person you come in contact with. It's easy, simple business though, Bowie. I'll make it sound so simple, but it actually isn't though.
Yeah.
It actually isn't that hard, what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
It isn't. You have to be willing to put in the work, have these systems, like you said.
Yeah.
And you'll beat like 95% of people.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, it's like, doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Like best of the best agents, they've got the systems in place, they've got the mindset, and they've got the skill set. Well, that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. So prepare before your presentation,
Absolutely.
build rapport with them. When you go in the meeting, be a good person. Like genuinely, from the heart, be a good person. You want to help them. You want to
That
be
really
there and
helps.
help them.
That really
And if you don't get the listing, be humble, keep in touch with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if you lose a listing, I say it's like, it's like people find out what kind of person you are when the times are hard. Like, it's like, if everything is good, nothing is wrong. You want to test somebody, put them under stress, right? So what I'm saying, like, when you lose a listing, don't be, you know what I'm trying to say? Don't be mean. Just still be nice. Send him a thank you card. I tell people, like, just send him a thank you card. Wish him all the very best.
Yeah.
And just ask them, could I keep in touch with you? Because majority of people like David, their home's done so they'll come back to you.
Yeah.
And even if they don't come back to you here, the goal in this business is to build a long-term, forever client, right?
Yeah.
So you're in touch with them. Okay, well, now where you moving to now? I'm moving from West Melton to Fendleton.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'll keep in touch with you. What's your new address?
Yeah.
What's your anniversary date? I'm keeping in touch because I didn't sell this house. I'm going to sell the next one. That's what I'm talking about, long-term relationship building. This is a marathon, not a sprint. If you want to be successful in 6 months, if you want to be successful only for a short period of time, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
But if you want to build a sustainable, successful, great business that people respect you as an agent, as a professional, then do it with integrity. Have a long-term mindset. Be a good, decent human being. And the rest takes care of itself. And I know the people that listen to us, they are good people. Otherwise, they won't be listening to us anyways.
Yeah.
So I know we are on the same wavelength. And let's change this industry for something that actually take care of people. And I'm telling you, if we have a bunch of people that are doing that, we're gonna make this industry like a better place, which is one of my.
Yeah. And everyone will do better.
I'm telling you,
That's the beauty of it.
absolutely.
All right. I'll wrap it up there, Nathan. Thank you for that. I'm sure that was very valuable. Was for me.
Absolutely.
I've never heard this process.
Uh-huh.
And if you're on Spotify or any streaming services, give us a like, give us a 5-star if you enjoyed it. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to comment, subscribe, and put any questions you have, and we'll make sure to answer them in next week's video. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening to Next Gen Agent.